I need a backbeat. Ooh. What's up, everybody? I'm Charlie Waymire, aka Sound of Objects. Welcome to the studio. Today I'm working on a new song, and that got me thinking about the creative flow of how a song comes together, from the writing process all the way through the recording process. And I know that I have fallen into a certain way of working where I start with the main instrument or the main part, and I get that down and record it the way that I want it, and then I go down the list of the supporting parts. And while that does work, sometimes having a little bit different approach to the way that you write and record can yield different and oftentimes more interesting results. So I'm going to work a little bit backwards from how I'm used to working while I wait on the piano to get tuned. This is a minimalist piece, but it's completely based around the piano. I do want to add a few pads, maybe a few percussive elements just to help move things along, but I only have a scratch track of the piano to work with, so I'm just going to roll with that. In the past, this would have completely bogged me down because I would have waited for the piano to get tuned so I could record the main part before recording the other parts, or sometimes before even writing the other parts. But today, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to record all of my supporting parts to the scratch piano track. This actually helped quite a bit to come up with some new ideas, because had I not done it this way, I would have gone with an arrangement that was a little too long in spots and didn't flow the way that I wanted it to. So I sat at the piano with a good old-fashioned pencil and manuscript paper, and I worked out all of the parts with the scratch piano and the pads. I've really enjoyed working this way as opposed to just laying everything out with MIDI. It's been a lot of fun. It's working so far, so I'm just going to keep rolling with it. And once I get a fresh tuning on the piano here, I'll get to track to the finished layers, which I'm really excited about because I usually don't get to work this way. For my main support, I knew I wanted some sort of pad, something the piano could kind of sit on top of and just float over for the whole song. So I knew I wanted my pad to kind of feel like clouds in a way. And since this song is basically just a giant E sus2 chord with a few variations here and there, the pad was going to be very drone-like, and then occasionally it's going to support the piano melody. So this is what the pad and the piano sound like together. The drone. Love that reverb. So a lot of the times when I'm coming up with my textures, whether it's a drone, pad, or just noises, I like to sit out in the live room with the piano, the organ, plethora of guitar pedals, and a few different amps, and just kind of come up with sounds until I find something I like. But a lot of the times I end up finding 3, 4, 5 sounds that I like, but only one of them really fits the song. So enter one of my new favorite instruments as of late, and that is Decent Sampler. This has allowed me to capture all of those sounds whenever I get them. So I have a really simple Logic session set up that allows me to capture things in real time really quickly so I don't lose any of the sounds. I can pick the one I want for that moment, quickly load it into Decent Sampler, and I can continue writing with that sound and then manipulate it even further into something else. This pad is actually one of my samples from my organ. I put it into Paul X Stretch, stretched it out a little bit, used some of the other controls in Paul Stretch, and turned it into something a little bit more kind of ethereal a little bit, kind of feels like clouds. And that is what my main pad is for this. I'm also using another one that just for a few accents that actually is a vocal pad. And I picked one note and I just simply stretched that note in Paul Stretch into something entirely new. And it kind of sounds like this. It actually sounds more like an organ, but that's actually the human voice stretched for like an hour and pulse stretched and then manipulated a little bit more. I'm not going to use that the whole time, actually. I haven't quite decided ever where it's going to go yet, but it's just going to come in a few spots where I want one more texture just to add to my cloud-like pad that I already have underneath the piano. And that's going to be the main support for the entirety of the song underneath the piano. I knew I wanted something that had a little bit of time to it, that just kind of helped push things just a little bit, but not aggressively. I didn't use hi-hats. I definitely did not want shakers or tambourines or anything like that. So really what I settled on was just the ride cymbal. I tried it with sticks, didn't like sticks, way too much attack. So I thought brushes, but still too metallic. So I have these old Collado like hot rod / brushes that are plastic. That's a much softer kind of washy sound, and I'm just moving it with some quarter notes through the song, and I'm going to hit it with a little reverb so it has a little time, takes up a little bit of space, but still is kind of mellow. I need to find a backbeat for this song, and I don't think a snare drum is what I'm looking for. I want kind of a woody type sound, you know, something that's percussive, but it's not like real drums really. So what I'm going to do is walk around the room here with these two different mallets and just kind of tap on everything that is wood and see if I find something I like. But before we do that, check out that DIY softbox there. It's ugly, but it's really effective. All right, let's hit some wood. That's actually kind of cool. Not for this, but this is a 5/8 piece of plywood. Ooh, it's a little hard. Not quite right, I don't think. There are a few cool sounds. I may have to cut some of this up and make a decent sampler out of this. Gonna try the wall. Ooh, it's kind of neat. It's kind of nice and round, it's soft sounding. I am definitely going to sample that. Conga? Nah. Ooh. I like that. It's percussive. It's not quite as hard as the plywood. It's not as like round and soft as the wall. It almost kind of sounds like a cross stick. I'm kind of leaning towards that right now. Now I'll go record it for real so we can hear something other than the lav mic. I've got some effects on, so here's what it just sounds like dry. And then I'm going to use a little bit of reverb and a little bit of a slapback delay just to give it a little space so when it sits around the piano, it kind of lives in its own area. It'll make sense in a second. And now the ride cymbal. Same thing, I'm going to turn the effects off there. So this is the ride cymbal dry. Kind of pushing things along, and here's the effects that I'm going to use, and I'll probably automate these a little bit in the mix a little, but this is what it sounds like in general. And I think the interesting one is this is a custom, it keeps going. This is a custom impulse response I made I don't actually remember what I did. I think this was one of Delilah's toys that I was just scraping across the ground, and I captured it with the PZM, and then I just kind of put them together in different ways and just created these kind of reverses. So that's what's going on with the ride cymbal. So it always kind of, it swells, I guess, kind of like a waves. And here's everything together. The reverse goes on a while. Now here's everything with the piano, so I think this is going to work out well. That delays, or that reverb was great. So that's what it's gonna sound like once I get the real piano on there. So that's really the point I'm at now. I love how that worked out. I did actually try to record a real bass drum, not playing it with a pedal, but I had it set up on the piano bench, and I tried a mallet and I tried a beater, and I just layered like a kick in there, and I just didn't like the vibe because I didn't want to put a bass, and I still don't want to put a bass on there. I want to leave that whole bottom really kind of open. So the kick drum just kind of made it feel heavy, so I didn't use it. I really liked what this is going to do to the second half of the song. This won't be on the first half. It'll only be on the second. So it kind of grows a little bit, and with that reverse reverb on the ride cymbal, kind of swims around a little bit more, which I think is kind of cool. This will probably be the first single. So as I'm filming this right now, I haven't even given this an official name. I'm just trying to get it done. I just like the vibe of this tune. I think this will be the first single for the next EP. So if it's out by the time I put this video, I'll have a graphic up here somewhere and links in the description and all that good fun stuff to where you can go have a listen to that. But thanks for joining me on this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.